Yes, here we are, Sports Bet Betting Inside today, Pauly and Teddy. It's Monday, July 31st, trade deadline, big game breakdown. Felix and the Mariners against Hamels and the Rangers. We'll also get to the deep dive with some Super Bowl numbers out there. Teddy wants to take you to school. We'll get to that and some good advice from Teddy coming up. A moose in Toronto yesterday, a total moose. We start with bad beats, 25-cent move on the Angels. They went off even money. 10-4 in the bottom of the ninth, a 7 spot for the Blue Jays. Pierce becomes the third player in MLB history with 2 walk-offs in the same season. Walk-off grand slams. He had 2 in 4 days.
Yeah, and the other guys, Jim Presley in 1986. I don't remember that. You know, Jim Presley. Cy Williams in 1926. That's not a household name. So hitting multiple grand slams in a season, kind of random. But, yeah, moose is the appropriate term here when you go into the bottom of the ninth with a 7-run lead? A 6-run lead in the bottom of the ninth. 8 Blue Jays batters batted in the ninth. 7 of them scored. A second walk-off grand slam in a week, Pauly, in 4 days. Never happens.
Yeah, Twins plus $1.25. The bullpen blows it again. They were up 5-0. They were up 5-3 in the 8th. They lose in extra innings. Saturday, they led in the bottom of the ninth. The ace, Davis, hit a walk-off. Earlier in the week, they blew a 5-run lead to the Dodgers on the road. They also blew a 2-run lead in the 8th inning when Bellinger hit the home run as well. This team could be in first place. Their bullpen is atrocious.
Sure, and Oakland, a team that really hasn't shown a lot of life since the All-Star break. To lose games where you have a 5-0 lead against the A's, those are the ones that come back to haunt you. But again, Minnesota, a team like Milwaukee, you ask them at the start of the season, would you be happy to be where you are now? They go, yeah, we're really happy. But all of a sudden, you say, hey, think of what you could be doing right now if you'd have gotten your act together and closed out these games for the Twins in particular. Obviously, a disappointment in that regard. Tough beat if you had Minnesota at the plus price in Oakland on Sunday.
Been hard to call this a bad bet because the Indians had won 9 in a row and the White Sox are a AAA team. But a 30-cent move on the Indians and the White Sox finally get one. Rodon pitched well, 3-1 final.
Question for Terry Francona. I didn't understand this one at all. He sent Shaw out there for a second inning instead of going to Andrew Miller or Cody Allen. Shaw in the second inning, well, that's when he gave up that bomb to Matt Stevenson and snapped the Cleveland 9-game winning streak.
Bad for the books. Reds. This is a good and bad for the books. The Reds-Marlins total was bet down from 9 to 8.5, but the Reds took money and went off the favorite. They finally won a game. What are they, 3-12 since the break?
Yeah, I mean, it's not easy to find takers for the Reds, and yet somehow, day in, day out, we keep on talking about steam on Cincinnati, and the wise guys like the Reds. And, you know, they lost 6 straight, but yet they took a ton of money again on Sunday, more than 30-cent move towards Cincinnati. That came in large part after Miami set Giancarlo Stanton. The markets flocked towards Cincy. And then a 6-1 game, it's going to be really bad for the books until Marcell Ozuna hits the 3-run bomb in the bottom of the ninth that bailed out the books on the under, even though it didn't make any difference with the beating they took on the side for that ball game.
Wise guys love Paxton. Everyone should love Paxton. 45-cent move on the Mariners at home to the Mets. Paxton with another win. He finishes July 6-0 with a 1.37.
Yeah, for him, the first Mariner pitcher in Seattle Mariner history to win 6 games in a month. We've talked about Paxton multiple times right here on SportsBet as being a bet on hurler, and brilliant again on Sunday. The books got burned on this one. And, I mean, you talk about minus 195 up to minus 240. It was minus 260 or higher here in Vegas. I mean, right now the win is finishing higher than just about everyone on the big chalk games. They might have some big square running really good right about now because the win continues to price the favorites a little bit higher than everybody else in town.
A lot of bad bets. UFC 214 recap. It was their best card of the year. Barao was a terrible bet, as high as 130, 135 offshore. That guy had won like 30 fights in a row at one point. He gets beat again. As Kevin Iole from Yahoo Sports tweeted it, you might be done. Jason Knight had nothing. He was incredible that he stayed on his feet after the barrage he took. Evinger, no chance against Cyborg. Cyborg minus 1,400 for a reason. Surprised that actually went over there and she hung in there for a couple rounds. Damian Maia money plus 185, no good. Went 0 for 21 on takedowns. against Woodley. Cormier was a bad bet as well. Jones was as high as 265. He beats Cormier again. And great job by the Westgate here in Las Vegas. After the fight, Jones calls out Lesnar. Jones opened opened $3 at the Westgate. Immediately bet up to $450 if that fight happens, Teddy.
Yeah, of course, it's the if that fight happens, but I always like to see sports books be proactive rather than reactive. Throw up a line, let the bettors do what they want to do. In this instance, the bettor said Jones is calling out Lesnar for a reason. He's going to kick his ass if they meet. A $1.50 move towards Jones from the opener right there at the Westgate here in Vegas.
Something happened in college football. I think a great move, classy move by the South Point. Can you explain?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, this is the story. All right. Tulsa, Oklahoma State game has been moved. Originally, it was Saturday, September 2nd. Now it's going to be a Thursday night affair on August 31st. The standard rule for sports books is game must go on that day or it's no action. And they'll basically, whatever bet was made, you get a refund. But this game, okay, opened at the South Point at -10 and got blitzed right up to -17. So there was a ton of Oklahoma State bets and people getting down at good numbers that they're not going to find again between now and kickoff. Here's a tweet from Chris Andrews at Andrews Sports. Of course, he one of the headlines makers over at the South Point. Quote, "The day change on Tulsa, Oklahoma State. House rules no action. However, some bet the opening number and have way the best of it. Those with great numbers can have action, but they have to let us know soon. Come to the counter or call the sports book." So basically the South Point is saying you're not going to get screwed if you bet at our book just because the game got moved 2 days. Obviously, it's one of those situations where the rules are there for a reason, but in this instance, it wouldn't affect the point spread one iota if the game was played Saturday or Thursday. Classy move by the South Point to allow bettors to hang on to their good wagers at numbers they couldn't get now.
Yep, very good there. Okay, here we are, trade deadline. By the time you watch this, we could know where some guys go here, where they wind up. Starts at 11 o'clock Pacific on the West Coast. Any advice with guys who could be traded?
Yes, definitely. We talk about, I mean, there's two things we want to talk about. One, be ready to watch the wires on Monday. You know, think about the possibilities before you bet anything. Remember, the markets are going to knee-jerk off of every deal on Monday. If you spend a minute to think about it before you bet, sometimes that will serve you well. So pay attention to what's going on. Don't necessarily knee-jerk anything. And this is one day where maybe you want to list pitchers or maybe you want action. Let's take the Rangers, for example, a game we're going to talk about in Big Game Breakdown. Cole Hamels is going. If Hamels gets traded, and he probably won't, but if he does get traded before the opening pitch, guess what? You want action in that game because if you have the other side, because the line's going to be higher. Texas won't be a favorite unless Hamels is on the hill in that contest. So you can use listed pitchers or action to your advantage today, depending on what situation you're looking for. Just think about it a little bit as you make your wager.
Up next, Big Game Breakdown. We'll start with the Mariners and the Rangers on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Go to SBROdds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.
Back on SportsBit, Betting Insight today. Time for Big Game Breakdown. As always, sponsored by and powered by BetOnline. They built their reputation by focusing on what we want. Exceptional customer service, strong promotions, and every possible type of wager that we're looking for out there. Check out the bonus page, sportsbookreview.com. Open a new account today and get the latest and best offers out there. Now, this is Seattle against Texas, and you throw up these standings here. I mean, obviously the Astros are winning the division, but other than that, it's a mess. Now, I would say Texas is out of it because they're 5.5 back, and there's 5 teams ahead of them in the wild card, and they just traded Lucroy, and they could trade Darvish and Hamels as well. The BetOnline number, the Rangers are $1.18, 10.5 the total. It's an interesting series, but it's just, you're not out of it. But then again, I can't say you're in it when you're below 500, Teddy.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at those standings one more time, 5 losing teams are still within fighting distance of reaching a playoff spot. And each of those teams has to make their own decision. Are we going to go for it, or are we going to try to dump guys? You know, Texas has made it pretty clear they're going to try to dump salary. They are not a team that appears to be going all out after a wild card spot. And of course, it's different depending on what division you're in. If you're in the West and you're trailing Houston, and nobody's going to catch Houston, even if the Astros slump and you get red hot, you're still not catching Houston. So there may be a different calculus in the AL West compared to the other two divisions.
Yeah, King Felix has been average Felix this year. ERA's 4.08. The FIP is 4.90. Both are career worst. Fielding independent pitching perspective, 101 pitchers have thrown at least 200 innings the last 2 years. Hernandez is 83 at 4.72. The average fastball has declined almost 5 full miles per hour over time, from 96 to the current, which is 91.2. That is definitely cause for concern, Teddy.
Yeah, sure. But, I mean, this is a Mariners offense that's doing some things right. Time to start paying attention to Ben Gamel. Talking about a guy who has a 16-game hitting streak every game since the All-Star break. His batting average up to .321. And he's bringing the leadoff punch that has been lacking for years in Seattle. I mean, really, for years that team's been looking for a leadoff hitter. And now, all of a sudden, not one, there's 2 table setters for Cano and Cruz in the middle of the order. You look at the average, you look at the on-base percentage, and you look at Seattle's offensive production over the course of the last couple of weeks, you can clearly see the connection. Of course, this is a Mariners team that comes into this series with a very different perspective than Texas. Seattle's been buyers at the trading deadline. They're coming in off series wins. They beat the Red Sox 2 out of 3. They beat the Mets over the weekend 2 out of 3. Meanwhile, the Rangers, they lost their series to the Marlins and the Orioles, and those are both sub-500 squads. So even though the standings say these two teams are close, right now mentally, they're not very close at all.
Yep, now you have the Rangers. As we mentioned, they traded Lucroy yesterday to Colorado. I think they should trade Darvish because he's going to be a free agent, and maybe they get the teams in a bidding war to get Darvish, although it certainly hurts his last time he got rocked. Hamels, supposedly not on the block, though they might keep him. He's been pitching well.
He certainly has. I mean, when you look at the numbers, Camels may well have started the season before he was really ready and fully healthy. He's at full health now. And you look at him, before July 1st, the walk rate to strikeout rate, not what we expect from Cole Hamels. Since July 1st, the walks way down, the strikeouts way up. That's what we expect from a veteran with rings on his fingers. That being said, Cole Hamels circa 2017, not Cole Hamels circa 2011, even though he's a valuable commodity at the trade deadline. If I had to pick Hamels versus Sonny Gray, Darvish versus Hamels, Hamels would be third on that list for me.
All right, game number 2. Bet online number. It's Cobb against Morton and the Rays and the Astros. The Astros $1.59 the total. They finally lost a road series. How about that? They lost back-to-back games for the first time since June 12th and 13th, and they lost a road series for the first time since the end of April in Cleveland. Unbelievable, but here it is. We've been talking about Charlie Morton. He continues to get it done.
Yeah, he sure does. I mean, they were talking about a guy that started the season throwing harder, velocity way up, and now he's been ramping it up even more since the All-Star break. 24 strikeouts versus only 12 hits allowed over 18 innings of work. Now we're talking about a guy who's averaging this season 10.1 strikeouts per 9. His career average is 6.7. Okay, that's not just a jump. It's a ridiculous jump. You never see a jump like that. We've seen one this year like that from Charlie Morton. The average fastball up to 96 miles an hour. The career average 93.4. So, off the charts type of numbers. It's not just about the heat. He's also throwing his curveball more. A career high 27.7% of the time. Career just about 20% average. So instead of being a ground ball guy, he's throwing harder. He's using the fastball to set up the curve. And lo and behold, Charlie Morton is mowing opposing hitters down. And, of course, he's doing it for a team in the Astros. They don't have to worry about home field. They don't have to worry about division. They don't have to worry about wild card. This team doesn't have to worry about anything else but staying healthy. That being said, is this a downtick? Do we worry about the Astros now that they finally lost a road series for the first time since April, and they lost back-to-back road games for the first time in months? Do we worry about them moving forward, Paul?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't be concerned about it, especially when they're averaging 7 runs a game on the road. Now, Cobb, just like Morton, it's been the curveball. A big win by the Rays yesterday, too. As they lost 3 out of 4 and avoided the sweep though, in New York with the win. Career, he's using the curveball 23% of the time. This year, 33% of the time. And look at this graphic with the curveball percentage this year. He's third behind Pomerantz and McCullers. So he's 9-6 with a 3.46, despite the strikeouts are down and the ground balls are down. So it's hard to improve your numbers when those are down, but he's been commanding the curve so well.
Yeah, he has. And you're not kidding about that being a big win for Tampa on Sunday. I mean, they were 2-8 in their last 10, and 5 of those losses came in games where they had led in the 6th inning or later, where the bullpen let them down again and again, where they couldn't get a clutch hit again and again. It's certainly been a problematic couple of weeks for Tampa. But they won yesterday, and now, I mean, what do we call Cobb? He's been their ace of late. He really has. His last 4 starts, he's gone 7 or more full innings every time. He's given up a total of 5 earned runs. He's been brilliant right now. So, yeah, some of the advanced metrics say this is a guy that, shouldn't be pitching as well as he is. When the strikeouts and the ground balls go down, you're not supposed to see a pitcher get better, but Alex Cobb's been really hot lately. Not a pitcher I'm looking to stand in front of right now, especially with Houston showing signs of coming back to earth.
All right, very good. Up next, we get to Teddy against Super Bowl odds and betting the futures. We'll get to that coming up on SportsBet. Betting Insight today on SBRpicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Wrap it up on SportsBet. Betting Insight today. Time for the deep dive. Talking Super Bowl odds and futures, Teddy. You don't like these odds to win the Super Bowl, and you have the good reasons why, especially when you look at the odds. But you've been saying on this show for the last couple of weeks, you got to shop around no matter what you're betting.
Yeah, I mean, this is just such a great chart. The guys at Sports Insights put this together. I wanted to put it up, and I know it's a long chart. There's a million numbers on here. But this is just a handful of books in Vegas and one offshore book, okay? It's MGM, Westgate, Wynn, Golden Nugget, and Bet Online, okay? Just 5 books. And just from these 5 books alone, the amount of variance you can find in Super Bowl odds is ridiculous. It's expected. It's dramatic. I mean, literally, from walking across the street, all right, from one shop to the other, you have a choice between you want the Falcons at 10-1 or you want 16-1. Your choice. You can get either bet. Atlanta wins Super Bowl, you can win $10 for every dollar or 16. Well, obviously, you want the 16. All you got to do is walk across the street or click on a different app. Raiders, you can get them at 6-1 to win it all or 12-1. Your choice. Available right now. Your choice. Giants at 8-1 or 20-1. Your choice. Vikings, you can get 20-1 or you can get 40-1. Your choice. If you want to bet on the Jets, and I don't know why you want to bet on the Jets to win the Super Bowl, but if you do, you can get them at 125-1. Make a nice little score. The Jets win the Super Bowl. Yeah, 125-1. Or you can walk across the street and get them at 500-1. 4 times the odds at one shop versus the other. 49ers, 3 times the odds. You get 300-1 or 100-1. A team that might win, is the Giants. You get 2.5 times difference, 8-1 versus 20-1. This is not hard work. It's nothing that you have to do other than look for the best odds and then make your bet there. That's all you have to do. And yet people are too lazy to do that. I mean, it doesn't take any handicapping. There's no luck involved. People ask me all the time, what's the biggest difference between sharps and squares? How do I be more like a sharp? How do I be more like a sharp? The biggest difference is betting skills, not handicapping skills. There are many recreational bettors. I'm not going to call them square. Recreational bettors that I know, they're better handicappers than so-called sharps, but they don't bet the games as well. They don't make the bets at the right times, not even close. This chart gives us a perfect example. Let's flash the chart one more time. Doesn't take any skills. All it takes is paying attention, opening up accounts where you need to open up accounts, and you get a dramatically different return on investment. ROI is what we're all looking for. I don't know how, that's a rant. There's a lot more to talk about on this subject, but that's my rant, Pauly. It's really is one of those situations where you want to be better at betting? Shop around.
Well, you can take advantage of bad numbers, though, if what you feel is a bad number. I don't agree with locking up. You can lock up your money in July. You just don't have to use most of your bankroll on it. We've seen bad numbers before. You saw the Falcons last year. There was great value in the Super Bowl. The 07 Patriots, the 98 Vikings, especially the 98 Vikings when the markets didn't know how good they'd be, and they went 15-1. So you don't have to drop a bomb on it, but I definitely think futures are worth a play, whether football or basketball, whatever it is.
Well, look at again, let's flash that graphic one more time and go down to the very bottom where it says hold percentage. Okay? And these are reputable books. They're good books. They're books that you and I bet at. They're books we have no problems recommending. There are many books that are going to have greater hold percentages than these when it comes to their odds to win whatever, Super Bowl, World Series, NBA championship. But the best you're going to find is the books holding about 25% and as high as 37% on this chart. I'm telling you find much higher elsewhere. That's not 11-10 when the house cut is 25%. Okay? You're not laying 120 to win $1. The house cut is dramatic and significant when it comes to these type of future wagers in a way that it's not dramatic and significant when it comes to season win totals. That's why we spent all summer talking about the NFL season win totals and which, this team we like them over, this team we like them under. You can bet against a team for a season win total. You can't bet against a team on a Super Bowl odds. You can lay 11-10, or even if you don't have a good book, you can lay minus 115 on the NFL win totals. Super Bowl odds, you're laying a minimum minus 125, minus 130, minus 135. The house takeout significant on just about all of these.
All right, tomorrow we finish out the AFC. Good job, Teddy. Great job with that chart as well.
Yeah, one last thing that I do want to talk about is opportunity cost. When you talk about making a bet in July, a future bet in July or in August, okay, you're locking up that money now instead of having that money to use all football season, or at least until October, let's say. A wager here could cost you, if you don't have a deep enough bankroll, could cost you the chance to make a better wager somewhere else. So whenever I'm looking to do something with the future books, okay, I always want to make sure, A, that I'm adequately bankrolled, and B, that it's not going to cost me something where I'm not going to be able to get down on a better wager than I could. But, shop around. I've been talking them and harping all summer. At least 3 books. Be in at least 3 books. This is why you need to be in at least 3 books. Go to the SBR bonus page. Find some good bonuses at A-rated books and open 3 friggin' accounts today. It really is that simple.
All right, the Raiders tomorrow. We finish out the AFC West. That's our final team. Money time, play of the day. Betting number 913, 914. Rays-Astros under 9. Under minus 120. Bet online number. Keep riding Morton until the markets figure it out. He's been terrific. Let's go with that under with the play of the day. Back tomorrow. Tell your friends. Football's here this week. Hall of Fame game Thursday. Cowboys and Cardinals on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.